overwhelmingly, and this is of course, my subjective assessment, Lisa, but overwhelmingly, I think South Australians believe this is the right thing to do, and the time has come to implement such a model. Naturally, there are people who have questions, and in most instances that's utterly legitimate. And us now being in a position, having drafted a piece of legislation that we're introducing into the Parliament, will allow full scrutiny of it, but also importantly, lots of those questions to be answered. What is the model? What is the voice actually enabled to do? And I think when people assess the facts and look at that versus the merit of the proposition, we'll see this as a really reasonable proposition, but also something that could be quite significant in terms of the advancement of Aboriginal affairs, and that's at the core of our objective here. So, like I said, we're excited about this proposition. I really believe it presents a moment in time and forgive me for my degree of bias here, but a moment in time where, again, South Australians can show the rest of the nation around what thoughtful, progressive, democratic reform can look like. We were the first place anywhere in the world here in South Australia to give women both the right to vote and run for Parliament. And we're going to be the first place in the nation, all being well, to provide a voice to the Parliament for our Indigenous communities. And that's a good thing to do. And
is the Conservative opposition backed this?
Look, we don't know officially, but I sincerely hope that they do, and I'm optimistic that they will. Clearly, it's not for me to speak for the Liberal Party, but we know that the former Liberal government were open-minded to the voice and had indicated publicly their support for it. They didn't have a piece of legislation in the Parliament or anything, but they were certainly verbally and committed to the exercise. So I hope that continues into their position now in opposition. And I hope that again, this can be a demonstration of the whole of the South Australian Parliament coming together for a powerful moment, and what can be a demonstration to the rest of the country that a voice to the Parliament is a good thing.
There were concerns raised by native title holders, and that forced a bit of a rewrite. So how confident are you that you're not going to hit more hurdles being the first to do this?
Look, being first brings with a degree of risk, but the extraordinary amount of consultation that has occurred with Indigenous communities over the last 12 months, I think has put us in a good position to introduce a bill that has the broad support of Aboriginal South Australians. And it's a pretty inclusive model. It's got 46 members that will then elect 12 as a central voice, and then 2 of those will be able to speak in the Parliament on any bill they see fit. Naturally, they don't have voting rights in the Parliament, but the ability to be able to address the Parliament, and then also on an annual broader basis, the ability to have access to ministers, but also the CEOs of government departments on a regular basis. So this is a good thing that when people assess, I don't think harms anyone. It doesn't diminish anything, but it does put forward the opportunity for Aboriginal people to have a positive influence on the formulation of policy that affects them. And I think the time for that has come. And I think given all of that background, and like I said, the extensive consultation from Kayamar with Aboriginal communities, it does enjoy broad support.
Just briefly, what do you think of the decision from the Northern Territory government to bring in the alcohol bans, to reintroduce them?
Well, obviously it's a big decision that the Northern Territory Chief Minister Natasha Fyles has made. I spoke with her last week about these issues at National Cabinet, and I have no doubt that it was a judgment made on the back of serious consideration. Clearly there are complexities, and the focus, I think, around this debate in Alice Springs has been on alcohol, and that is understandable, but I think we've also got to look deeper than that and make sure that governments of all political persuasions at every level, local, federal and state, are doing everything they can to provide the supports to families and Indigenous communities that might prevent people from turning to alcohol in any event.